All right, so good afternoon and welcome to today's live lab. We are going to go over just a few quick announcements. We've got a couple changes in the schedule coming up. And those of y'all who are with me from Miss Danielle's class, these will probably not apply to you. These are probably just for my class mostly. I'm going to share my screen. Okay. So sorry, I'm a little scatterbrained today, guys. It's been a crazy week as far as modules ending grades and things like that, so I'm a little scattered. But what we are going to talk about today, last week we talked a little bit about the fact that I wanted to get you guys more familiar with insurance. That was something that employers looked for, was a good understanding with that, and a certain level of comfortableness talking to patients about their bills and billing and how their insurance works and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to start talking about today. We're gonna kind of get into what copays, deductibles, adjustments, allowables, and different billing and insurance terms and things that y'all need to know, and how they apply to dollar amounts. That's kind of the big thing, is how they apply to dollar amounts and how to explain that to somebody. So we're not going to spend a lot of time. Like I said, we're going to start on it today, and then we'll probably continue on with it next week, going a little more in depth with figuring out what amounts are supposed to be and different things like that. Because that is something that is asked on your NCCT certification exam when
What?
you get to the end of the program. Some of those questions
I can't hear
are,
you.
I'm sorry?
No, they ran out of the one you want.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
There we go. Um, there we go. We're all right. So they do ask y'all, patient X has such and such a deductible and their plan covers 80/20. This is what she's billed. What does she owe? And they give you options and you have to pick out the right amount. So figuring this stuff up is something that you definitely need to know for your certification exam for sure. And then definitely you will use it almost every day going forward in your career. All right, so let me get my little slide thing already. All right, can you guys see my little announcements page thing? Yeah. All right. All right, so first thing first little quick announcement for today. We are starting NCCT prep sessions. They're going to be Tuesdays at 2 o'clock, every Tuesday. They're going to be about 30 minutes long, and these are going to be geared toward people who are in their last couple of months of the program. If you're a brand new student, these are not going to do a lot for you. A lot of the stuff that you're going to hear, you may not have heard before because you haven't been in the program long enough to go over that material. But if you are within the last couple of months of your program and you're getting, close to that point where you're wanting to start prepare for that exam at the end, these classes are the ones to come to do that. You guys notice we have an NCCT prep library in Moodle for you guys, and it has the videos and the practice tests and different things. And I know not all of the questions work 100% of the time like they're supposed to. For some reason, sometimes when they transfer over, the settings transfer over correctly, sometimes they don't. And then it takes me time to go in and get those fixed. So just let me know if you come across a question that doesn't work correctly, and I'll do my best to get it fixed in a timely manner. I will try. But that stuff's all there. So basically what we're going to be doing in these prep sessions is just getting into more detail about those tests, getting into the rationale behind the questions and why they are answered the way they are. So again, if you're at the end of your program and you're preparing for this exam, which everybody at the end of their program should be, because that's the whole goal, is to get certified and have that to put on your resume so you can go into this field, right? So Tuesdays at 2 o'clock starting next week. Our weekly live labs, today's meeting, We're going to stay on Thursdays, but I'm also having to back those up till 2 o'clock. The schedule is just going to be too rough throughout the month of May. If at some point during the summer, after softball season is over with, basically, and we figure out that the 2 o'clock time does not work for the majority of the class, I will bring it back to 4 o'clock. If the class, I'll put in like a vote or something. We'll do something if y'all want to change it back to 4. But I am gonna have to change it to 2 for at least a little while. Let's see, Memorial Day holiday. This will apply to Miss Danielle's class as well. I think it's Monday, May 26th. We will be off that day in observance of the holiday. So, no class on that day, no assignments due that Monday. Enjoy a nice long holiday weekend. And let's see, last announcement is, of course, tomorrow already is the end of this module 168. That 10 days went by really fast, right? Well, the next one is also 10 days long, and it's going to fly by just as fast. It starts on Monday. I know from my class, it is not opened up yet. I have not built it yet or opened it up. But it will be, by tomorrow afternoon. And ready to go way before Monday, when it starts. So just if you are behind on 168 assignments, you need to make up assignments, please get with me today or tomorrow so we can plan something for you to get it done no later than Sunday evening before this new module starts, okay? Let's get the old module done and over with before we move on to something fresh. We don't want to stay behind, okay? And like I was explaining before, we have a certain amount of time to get those final grades in for you guys. So y'all having the work done by the end of the module is pretty crucial. Okay. Any questions about any of the announcements, meetings, holiday, new module, any of that? And y'all know where to find the new modules, right? My Classes tab in Moodle. Perfecto. All right, so we're going to talk real quick about some common insurance terms. And I want to start off by saying one of the best ways to understand insurance is if you have insurance yourself, if you have it through your company, you have it through Obamacare, healthcare.gov, however you have it, even if you have Medicaid or Medicare or whatever, that is a type of insurance, and somewhere you have a benefits summary. Start looking at your own insurance benefits and trying to understand, wrap your head around what they are, and then you can apply that knowledge when you're looking at the details of somebody else's plan. That's how I started to get familiar before I was even in this field. I've been a diabetic for a long time, since I was in my 20s. And so company offered insurance is something that I've always taken advantage of. And when I started having to go to a doctor every 3 or 4 months and really incurring some medical bills, I wanted to understand my benefits. And especially when my company would give me a choice of 2 plans, which one is going to work out best for me in my situation. So I started researching it before I was ever in this field and starting to try to understand what those amounts were, what the benefits meant, in relation to my bills. So I highly recommend getting your own benefit summary from your insurance carrier and starting to go over that if you haven't already. That'll help you get familiar with things. All right, so 5 main terms that you're going to hear every day, all day. A premium, an insurance premium. That's the monthly amount that somebody is going to pay for their insurance coverage. Some people pay for it. They have individual coverage, like I said, through healthcare.gov or Blue Cross or whoever. And then a lot of people, most people, have insurance coverage through what they call group coverage in a company from their job. It's a group of people all employed together that all have insurance under the same plan. So it's a group coverage, group of people. And their monthly premium is usually deducted from their paycheck if they get their insurance that way, okay? So the number, what people pay for insurance premiums is going to range, and I mean range from $0 a month if you qualify for it to thousands of dollars a month if your circumstances are unfortunate enough. It'll be crazy what you pay for insurance. All right, so let's see. But the insurance company does set the amount of the premium depending on the plan and the benefits. Okay, the allowable amount. All right, so an allowable amount, and you usually only hear about this in the terms of insurance billing. The allowable amount is the billable amount agreed upon between the doctor or the provider and the insurance company. When a doctor signs up with an insurance company, they sign a contract, a legally binding agreement that says, all right, if we're going to send our group of insured people to you, to your practice, you're not going to bill them out the wazoo. We're going to set what you can bill. And what you can bill is called an allowable. It's what they're allowed to bill those patients, okay? They can set whatever fee they want and bill what they want. Like you'll see on an insurance statement when you get one back from the doctor, you'll see the billed amount, which might be, say, $5,000 or something like this. And then you'll see an allowable amount listed there of, say, $2,500, because that's what they agreed upon when the doctor signed up under that insurance, right? They agreed that they would only bill their insured people $2,500 for that service. A cash paying customer comes in and they get billed the $5,000. But let's just say Blue Cross Blue Shields people are only going to pay $2,500. Does that make sense? Between billed and allowable? The doctor can bill what they want, but if they're under the insurance plan, they got an allowable, okay? And you will see it, they'll list it on EOBs and patient statements, adjustments, all right? They're taking off between what the billable was and the allowable amount. The adjustment is what they take off of the billed amount to give you the allowable. They adjust it off because it's a contracted rate, right? Does that make sense?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome sauce. All right, so a deductible. Most people know what a deductible is when it comes to your insurance. That's the amount of money that you're going to pay up front before your insurance company covers $1. Before any of your benefits kick in, you have a set deductible amount that you have to pay before they pay anything. I have seen deductibles as low as $250 for the calendar year, which is unheard of these days. That was years and years ago. And then I have seen deductibles of $10,000 and $15,000, which we call that, if your deductible is that high and you're paying insurance for a deductible that's that high, we call that a oh crap policy, basically. That's somebody who does not ever hardly go to the doctor, and they're only gonna go to the doctor in an emergency situation when it's an oh crap situation and I gotta go to the hospital. That's when they're gonna use their insurance benefits. Usually people with a deductible that high, and I say oh crap, that's not really what we call it, but that's the professional way to say it. If you're in office company, you're gonna say it's an oh crap policy, because it's simply in the event of something catastrophic happening to that person. Because unless you incur over $10,000 worth of bills, everything you pay is out of pocket if your deductible is that big. Okay, does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. Okay, awesome sauce. All right, so we're going to look right next to that at the copay amount. All right, not all insurance plans have a copay. If your plan has a copayment or copay, this means that you pay a set dollar amount or a flat fee for some kinds of care, such as seeing your primary doctor, visit to your doctor's office, pharmacy. Certain levels of drugs will have a copay instead of an out-of-pocket amount. Urgent care, like my particular insurance plan, I've got like a $40 fee to go see my primary care doctor. That's my copay. $55 if I go to urgent care, If I have to go to the emergency room, it's $350 copay, which is good because emergency room can cost thousands and thousands of dollars. Okay, but $350 is my copay for that. So I'm really blessed to have the insurance that I do have in the health issues that I do. But again, not all insurances have a copay. Okay, sometimes you're just gonna, if you don't, you go to the doctor, they bill what they bill, your insurance allows what it allows, and if you haven't met your deductible, you're gonna be responsible for 100% of it. If you have met your deductible, they're gonna pay what they're responsible for, or their co-insurance, which is the next thing we're going to talk about, co-insurance. Once you've met your deductible, you pay a set percentage or co-insurance for your care. The most common values for those are 80-20, 60-40, there's also 70-30, and 50-50. And those are just percentages. And the first percentage is what the insurance company is going to pay. The second number is the percentage the patient is going to pay, okay? My particular insurance plan is 80-20. After I meet my yearly deductible, which for me is $2,500, but that's my individual, not my family. That's just me. I have to pay $2,500 out of pocket up front, and then after I meet that, all the bills that come through, the insurance is going to pay 80% of those allowed charges, those allowable amounts that they can charge me. I'm going to pay 20% of it, okay? Now, if my plan was 60-40, the insurance company would pay 60% of it, and I would pay 40, and then 50-50. And 50-50, you see that more with out-of-network providers. A lot of times on your big insurance companies like Blue Cross, United Healthcare, Advantage, things like that, they will have in-network and out-of-network providers. If the provider or the doctor is not signed up with that insurance company, they are considered out-of-network, or you'll also hear them called non-participating, or you'll see on paperwork non-par, NON-PAR, non-participating provider, okay? And you'll see that a lot on denials for claims. You'll file a claim with somebody's insurance and they'll come back and they'll say, no, that doctor's not participating in this insurance plan. And then you got to call and figure out, well, no, I know my doctor signed up under Blue Cross Blue Shield. What's the deal? And you'll figure out what the deal could be on one of the next slides. But so co-insurance, does that make sense to everybody? How it breaks down? You cover your deductible first, and then the co-insurance goes into effect after that. All right, and then some insurances, not all of them, have an out-of-pocket maximum for the year, and this is basically what you pay towards your medical and pharmacy deductibles, co-payments, and co-insurance applies to your maximum out-of-pocket, okay? Usually the out-of-pocket is something big. It's like 10, 15, 20 grand, something real big, okay? You get real lucky sometimes. My husband's with his insurance through his company is going to be super great. I think his out-of-pocket max is like $2,000 a year. His deductible is $500 a year. But this is a guy that never goes to the stinking doctor. So it's really not going to pay off for him. But he's got great benefits if he ever gets sick or something like that. But yeah, so your out-of-pocket max. If you're somebody who goes to the doctor a lot like me, you want as low an out-of-pocket max as you can get, okay? Because once you've paid that out-of-pocket maximum, once I've paid $10,000 for the year, I pay nothing else. Insurance covers everything else 100%. So that's where that out-of-pocket max comes in. If, 4 years ago, I had back surgery. If anybody's ever had a back surgery, you know that it is very, very stinking expensive, okay? It was like a $50,000 surgery. The provider that I chose to use was when I had this surgery, I couldn't walk. So, I wanted the best spinal surgeon that I could get. So I chose a doctor, a surgeon that was not in my network. And I chose to pay that 50-50 instead of the 80-20. I could have paid a lot less for that surgery if I'd have went with an in-network doctor. I figured it was worth the price to be able to walk. That's, you know, where it worked out on my priority list. I will pay the 50-50 for this surgeon. I don't care that he wasn't covered under my plan. He was credentialed with Blue Cross. He was participating with Blue Cross, but he was not participating in my particular plan at that time. And my out-of-pocket max with that, my insurance plan at that time was about $10,500. So I ended up only paying $10,500 for my back surgery because that was my out-of-pocket max. That was the maximum they could charge me, and everything else Blue Cross had to cover. After they took it to appeals, they denied it for a year, and we took it to appeals, and we won the appeal because I needed the surgery. But still, they'll do that for big surgeries. They'll make you appeal it over and over again. But that's what an out-of-pocket maximum is. If you know that you have an upcoming surgery or something like that, look at your out-of-pocket max and see what your maximum liability is going to be for that. All right. So those are all your most basic terms. And we're going to take a look real quick. Like I was saying, everybody gets usually, if their company offers benefits or when you're picking a plan with healthcare.gov, they will give you the benefit summaries online, or they'll mail it to you or whatever. Or your company may pass them out or email them to you or something like that. And usually you can pick a plan. They have different levels of plans. And as y'all can see on here, this one, I think this was a Blue Cross Blue Shield benefit summary that I just pulled off of online. This is not any person specific. This was just what they're offering the average Joe that goes to their website and is looking for insurance coverage. This is what they're going to pull up. And this is probably like a year old. I think I did this slide last year. But so insurance plan participation can vary by many different factors, including but not limited to geographic location, individual physician or provider, medical groups of providers, the health network, or the facility. There are certain types of insurance that are out there that are so specific, like they only cover doctors inside of Louisiana. There's some that are so specific, they only cover doctors inside of Shreveport, Louisiana. They only cover Ochsner Hospital in Shreveport, Louisiana. You can't go to LSU and get coverage. Insurance plans get that specific sometimes, okay? So that's something to be aware of when you're looking at your insurance plan. Find out what all of those limitations on your coverages are, and that's something that you can explain to patients too. There may be some kind of limit on your coverage, like okay, the doctor in Mississippi is credentialed with Blue Cross, but if your Blue Cross Louisiana plan only covers doctors in Louisiana, they're not going to cover the one in Mississippi, right? So there's a lot of different factors that can go into how the plans work, okay? Out-of-network providers are also called non-participating or non-par. And like I said before, an important part to remember is just because a provider is in network with an insurance company does not mean that they participate in all of that company's insurance plans, okay? So it's a good idea when you're going to a new doctor. I used to just ask, do y'all take Blue Cross? And it would be a yes or no question. I don't ask that question anymore. My first question is, do you take Blue Cross? And they say yes or no. Okay. And then I have the name of my plan. Okay, this is the plan that I have. Is your doctor participating in my plan? Are they signed up under my plan? And it's a yes or no question. And whether it's yes or no, either I'm going to pay 80-20 or I'm going to pay 50-50. So that's a choice that you have to make. Okay? And it's also, something that patients have to understand how that works too. Just because a doctor takes Blue Cross doesn't mean they take their plan or whichever. I use Blue Cross because it's the most common here. That's why all my examples are Blue Cross based. And it's also an insurance company that I've dealt with a lot from a personal level and from a professional level. There were several clinics that I ran in Alexandria where all I did were their Blue Cross claims and payments and denials and stuff. So I'm really, really familiar with how Blue Cross operates. So that's why I base a lot of my examples on that. But you can see the different levels of plans, the dollar amounts are different, right? The deductible is higher on one than it is the other, 1,000 and 3,000. And they always give you the name, like the name of this plan is Blue Connect Copay 8060. This one is Blue Connect Copay 7050. So you can see how those 8060 and 7050. Okay, that they're talking in network and out of network. I was like, that doesn't add up to 100. Hold on a second. That's not what they're talking about there. All right. They're talking about that first, that 80 is co-insurance and the 60 is co-insurance out of network. Okay. All right. So, but what they pay, you can see co-insurance in network, they pay 80/20, or on this other plan, 70/30. And if it's out of networks, they pay 60% on this plan or 50% on that plan. Okay. So you can see how the different tiers of plans work. Your benefits are a little bit better the higher tier you have. All right. But that's kind of what the benefit summary looks like. It's going to give you all of your benefits, your deductible, your out of pocket, your copay if that's a thing with that plan. It's going to give you your out of pocket max, all this different information, and it's going to give it in columns to where you can compare it with their different plans. They usually have it all laid out for you in a summary. Right. Any questions on that? Any questions on what a benefit summary is, what information it provides, that kind of thing? No? All right, cool. All right, let's see, what time is it? 4:38, 7:38, Lord have mercy. Okay, so like I said, I think that's where we're gonna cut it for today. Next week, we're gonna start on some examples. As y'all can see here, I gave you some basic information on the patient's benefits and then asked a couple of questions. So just to give you an idea of what we're gonna be looking at next week. The patient goes for an office visit with her in-network primary care provider, or PCP. And y'all will notice that there's a lot of acronyms, initials, things are shortened in this industry all the time. So a primary care provider's or primary care physician is called a PCP. And you usually have to pick one when you sign up with an insurance. But so they go for an office visit, in-network, primary care. What's the patient going to pay? This patient has a copay. So that $25 would be their copay for a primary care. Their $40 copay would be what they would pay for like other services other than primary care, urgent care or a specialist. If they had to go see like a cardiologist or an orthopedist or something like that, if their primary care sent them somewhere to a specialist, they'd pay a $40 copay for that specialist. Okay? So when they go for an office visit with their in-network provider, their payment's going to be $25. Okay? And let's see. The next one just goes into a little bit more detail, but we're not gonna go over that today. I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what next week's gonna look like and what we're gonna kind of be working through, so y'all can kind of prepare if you want to. All right. Yeah, I think that's a good stopping point for today. We went over all the main terms. I gave you some good ideas of where to start. Maybe between now and next week, if you want to dig up your own benefit summaries or even look at examples, y'all can go on different insurance websites and just say, show me your plans, and they'll show you benefit summaries. of the different plans they have available, and you can start familiarizing yourself with the terms and the different things like that. And we also, in the program, we do go through a lot of insurance and billing stuff, but I don't know how the new curriculum handles it because I haven't taught the new curriculum's billing section yet, but I know that this is really important for you guys to know and understand. So that's why I'm covering it now. While we're still in coding, there's only so much lecturing on coding we can do, right? We don't need to go into too much detail about all the different body systems and the different procedures and stuff because we don't know where you guys are going to end up working. You know, why go into all this detail about cardiology if you guys end up working for an orthopedist or a pediatrician or something like that? So we keep it real general as far as we know the process of coding, we know how to do it. We're not getting bogged down by the anatomy, the terminology, or the specialty. Okay, we're keeping it real general as far as coding. So I like to take our lab time and use it for stuff that y'all are going to see on a daily basis that's really vital for y'all to know. Because we do more coding. We concentrate more on coding than we need to. We really do. Any questions or concerns before we call it a day? Because that's all I've got for today.
So we're about to start moving into billing.
I am not yet. 169, we are continuing on with coding for at least another 10 days. Let me see real quick. I can look. 67. Let me look at this syllabus and see when we're going to be getting to billing. I haven't looked that far ahead because honestly, keeping up with the grading for these 10-day modules has taken me some getting used to. I'm kind of having to change up my routine of how I do things a little bit, and I'm a routine person. It throws me off really bad when I have to change up my routine. Where are the new there we go, new syllabi. All right, so yeah, 69 I know is we're continuing in coding. 70 CPT pathology lab, more coding. Like I said, we concentrate more on coding than we need to. All right, so when we get to 171, so we've got like maybe 20 more days of coding. Once we get to 171, we move into medical front office, which usually in medical front office, we will talk about healthcare law and the general paperwork, documentation, the forms, all that stuff that goes into that front end work. Insurance verifications, HIPAA training, a lot of healthcare law. And the reason being is because there's a big healthcare law section on your NCCT exam. So we do go over that quite a bit. But yeah, so 170, what I say, 171 is
Yes,
when
ma'am.
we out of coding and on to something fun.
Yay.
That's my favorite. I like, y'all know, I've told y'all I am not a coder. I don't care for it. I am a biller. I am a medical biller, and I love it. So when we get into that part of it, I get really passionate and really excited.
I'm excited about the billing because the coding is.
Like I said, y'all, I would not. If you are a certified specialized coder, it's more money than billing. It is worth more money because it's a certain skill. I do not enjoy it. I would not take a job doing just that. I don't mind taking a job where it's a combination of some billing, some coding, some different things. I could do that, but I will never take a job where I'm doing nothing but coding all day. And honestly, there aren't that many of those jobs out there anymore anyway. Because why? Because software, because computers. We don't have to look through a manual to figure it out anymore. All of our codes are now saved in a computer, and they're very easily accessible. So there really aren't a lot of jobs out there where I need a certified specialized coder to sit here and code all day long. That's not what they're hiring for anymore. Now they're hiring coders to work denials, to work billing stuff, to work issues and stuff like that. A lot of specialized coders, a lot for surgeons. because sometimes that coding can get pretty intricate. You got to know global periods and bundling and all the stuff that ties into that. So if you end up working for a surgeon, you could do a fair amount. They could have you looking at a fair amount of coding and how to figure things out. But that's really it. That's really it. Most of what we do these days is use a lot of billing. Your billing specialists review the coding, make sure it's accurate, verify it, correct it if it needs correcting, and then we go on. So, excellent question, guys. Any other questions or concerns, guys, before we get out of here? Nope. Okay, awesome. Well, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm glad that you hopped in with us. My class, if y'all come to NCCT Prep, I'll see you on Tuesday. And if not, I will see you on Thursday at 2 o'clock. All right. Bye, guys. Have a great weekend.